between the Christian God, I'm guessing the answer is always no. Wow.
Sir, you cannot explain while politics is a moral endeavor, you cannot explain why it is a moral endeavor and where morality comes from.
What are you guys
I mean, morality comes from lots of things that don't have to do with religion.
Actually, sir, morality only comes from the absolute moral lawgiver, God. If you say it comes from lots of things, can you point to one other thing that morality comes from?
So what about Greek and Roman societies that had their own moral philosophies, laws, and ideas?
Sir, wouldn't you agree that they came up with their own moral philosophies
all you're
after
gonna do is
rejecting God's moral
then
philosophy?
Please mute yourself.
What'd you say, Mr. Batman? I'm sorry, there's someone going on
I
there.
said, sir, wouldn't you agree that the Roman culture came up with their own moral philosophy after rejecting the moral philosophy of God that they know, because God has etched it on their hearts, because God has made himself known to all creatures? You see, sir, that happened to be the choice of the Roman culture to create a new society. That new society rejected the absolute moral standard of God. And where is that new society today?
What does it matter where it was today?
Oh, it actually does matter, sir, because wouldn't you agree in order for something to actually be good, it has to be somewhat pragmatic?
No, because... Like,
so, it can be good and not work? Are you saying, sir, that something can be good and not be functional?
Something can be bad, but it can also work as well. So, like, the Mongols were considered an atrocity.
Sir, what would be your definition of good and bad, and what would be your standard?
Well, I don't think a definition... I think a definition of good and bad is very subjective. Like, the Mongols probably thought what they were doing was good, but in our standard today is bad, or in the standard of the Crusaders in, like, Spain and fucking Prussia and all that probably thought the Mongols were bad, right? So good and bad is very subjective. Like, Iran thinks they're imposing their goodwill on people. The United States thinks they're imposing their goodwill. It's super subjective, and you don't have to use the morality of religion in order to justify everything that you do.
Yes, sir. I understand that you agree that morality is simply your opinion, but that's not the case, sir, because it's not simply an opinion that one person's murder is another person's justified killing. It is a case that if you kill somebody illegally without cause, if you take an innocent life, that is the definition of murder, sir, and murder would be bad, always bad. So you, sir, have no justification for why anything is good or bad, right or wrong. Excuse me while I mute this idiot.
Was that Russ Friend again?
Yeah, he's just fucking laughing at his Mike B's.
Yeah, okay, he's muted now. Thanks.
So once again, sir, let me point out to you that it is simply your opinion what is right or wrong. You have no moral standard. Sir, let me ask you a question. Was Nazi Germany, were they morally right in killing all those people, those millions of people? Were they morally right, or were we morally right for telling them they were wrong for killing all those people? And why?
So I'm not very big into philosophy. I haven't studied a lot of it. I only have a very basic high school level of it, but like, again, morality is very subjective. So the Nazis thought they were correct in exterminating Jews, gypsies, not just Jews, but like Jews, gypsies, redheads, gays, blacks, whatever you...
Yes, sir, I understand the people who were killed. Answer the question, sir. Who was right? Were they morally right, or were we morally right? Or were we morally wrong for inflicting our morality on them, sir? Because if it's just our opinion, we were morally wrong for inflicting our opinion on them without having an absolute standard of right and wrong.
Yeah, it's subjective, so there is no yes or no to this
No,
question.
sir, it is not subjective.
Yes.
Wouldn't you agree that it's wrong to kill and eat children?
Don't you believe that gay people
Wouldn't
are
you
wrong?
agree, sir, that it's wrong to kill and eat children?
I would concur it's wrong.
No, there you are taking things that would be illegal.
Children, sir.
But there are also things that are subjective, like homosexuality.
Why would it be wrong to kill and eat children in your worldview, sir?
Hold up, Mr. Batman. I want you to answer B's question because.
Sir, why would it be wrong to kill and eat children in your worldview?
I'll answer your question after you answer B's question.
No, sir, I'm talking to you, and I'm going to get you to answer this question. Why would it be wrong to kill and eat children in your worldview?
Because I don't want to impose my will on individuals who don't have the ability.
Then why would you want us to impose
themselves.
our will on Nazi Germany and make them stop killing people? That would be wrong in your worldview.
I don't believe society should have the ability to genocide.
So wait a minute, that's your opinion. Why would that be wrong, sir? That's your. You said I believe. That's your opinion. I don't want your opinion, sir. I want your absolute standard on why something is right or wrong, not your opinion. Can you show me an absolute standard?
So you're looking for an absolute standard to authority, and I cannot supply one. So therefore, any answer I give.
Yes, sir. You have none. That's what I'm talking about. Your whole position is vacuous. It is fallacious. It has no foundation. It is simply your opinion. You speak so every time you say, I believe. So again, the problem with your mentality is, sir, you realize that all morality is coming from an absolute moral lawgiver. Without that being the case, it is simply your opinion. Now, wait a minute. Why is it when I talk over somebody, I get muted, but when somebody talks over me, I don't get muted. They don't get muted. Why is that? Yes. Okay, be silent, young boy. Be silent or I'll put you on mute again. So here's the deal. You, sir, have no justification for why anything is right or wrong in your worldview. Again, you have no justification for anything to be right and wrong in your worldview. It is simply your opinion. Somebody else could come up with a different opinion, and their opinion would be just as valid as yours. According to your worldview, sir, it was wrong for us to inflict our opinion that it's wrong to kill millions of people on the Germans who were killing all those millions of people. So we were in the wrong for trying to stop something that was wrong, according to your opinion.
That wasn't my opinion. That's the opinion you projected, Mr. Batman.
Mr. Batman, don't confuse existentialism with nihilism. They're two very different things.
Yes, sir. I won't confuse your ignorance with the truth, sir. Don't worry about that.
Mr. Batman, though, I think Bees had a question that he was trying to ask earlier after I answered your question.
Yeah, you've been talking about things that would indeed morally across cultures be illegal. Eating children, killing other people. Yes, slavery. But what about homosexuality? Wouldn't you consider that a sin?
Yes, sir. I know that homosexuality is a sin. Do you not know that?
Well, what's your point, Beast? Batman?
So there are morality changes.
Homosexuality is always wrong, no matter what, because God says so.
Well, that's just your opinion, Batman.
No, sir, it's not my opinion. It is my absolute authority. God's word says so.
Well, you see, it's your opinion that God is an absolute authority.
Well, sir, what would be your absolute authority? What would be your ultimate standard of reality? On what do you base all your reality on, sir?
Well, I don't claim to have an ultimate authority because I'm not an ego.
Oh, really? So you don't use logic, sir?
No, I use logic, but I know that logic is
Great. Since you use logic, where does it come from?
My brain.
So did your brain pre-exist all time, space, and matter?
No, it didn't.
Oh, then wait a minute. Let me ask you a question. In the beginning of all things, could the universe have both existed and not existed at the same time in the same relationship?
Yes.
No, sir. That would be false. Let me help you with that answer.
It's called quantum superposition. It's a relatively... Well, it's a...
Actually, no, sir. Nothing cannot produce anything. When you have nothing from nothing, you will get. So the fact of the matter, no, sir, it doesn't happen all the time. That's completely false. Again, you have to use these eternal, universal, and unchanging laws of logic in order to understand anything that is.
Hold on. What's your evidence for? What's your evidence that something can't be created from nothing?
Because it never occurs, sir.
Doesn't it?
No, sir, it does not. As a matter of fact, we know that all things were created in the beginning, that all time, space, and matter had a finite beginning in the distant past. And we also know, sir, that it was a singular event. That's why it's called the singularity. It was a singular event. That's why we call it the universe. Do you know what universe actually means, sir? It means single spoken word, that God spoke the universe into existence in a single spoken word. That'll preach.
You don't understand. It's called a singularity because it's a single point that's infinitesimally small in one dimension within three-dimensional or higher space. That's the definition of a singularity.
Yes, sir. And where did the singularity come from? Where did the mass and the energy and the matter for the singularity come from?
Well, it didn't need to come from anywhere because there wasn't time, and without time, there can't
Actually,
be
it
causality.
did need to come from somewhere, sir. It had an origin spot. Wouldn't you agree that we can measure the expansion rate of the universe?
Yeah, we can.
Great. And you cannot go past, if we go backwards in time, if we're measuring the expansion rate, we know it's expanding as it goes on in time. If we go backwards in time, we can extrapolate and we go to zero. You cannot go past zero. Is that correct, sir, that you cannot go past no thing?
Oh, you can easily go past no thing. You can go into negative
Actually,
thing.
no, sir, you cannot. You cannot scientifically go past no thing. You cannot scientifically go past no thing, sir. That is your belief system. That is your dogma.
No, it's not. And please don't tell me
that's
what
imaginary numbers.
Yeah, imaginary numbers exist. Negative numbers exist.
Yes, sir. Negative numbers exist in the physical world because they are abstractions of the mind. Wouldn't you agree?
No.
I do have one question, Tom.
Yes, actually they are. Thank you very much for playing.
Let Bambi speak. Bambi,
yes,
what do you want to
Mr. Bambi, how may I help you?
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Tom. I was wondering, I don't know how the expansion of the universe is actually measured. I know how it's done. It's via light, but how do we measure the actual expansion?
As it's
reading
called
parsecs, I think.
It's pitch shifting. So what you understand how
it's called redshift.
Wait, yeah. Well, redshift is the light equivalent of pitch shifting, but you know how the Doppler effect works, right? So when a car's coming towards you, it sounds like it's higher pitched, and then it passes you, and as it moves away, it sounds like it's lower pitched.
Yeah,
you've had that
police
experience,
sirens,
right? Yeah, the same.
Do you know that we
happens.
can measure the redshift,
Batman?
and it's moving equally in all directions away from us, like we're almost near the center of the universe? Isn't that interesting?
No, as far as I know, we're very far from the center.
Actually, sir, why don't you look at the quantification of the expansion rate of the universe? You'll find, sir, that the quantized rate of expansion is equal in all directions, in every direction that we look.
If I remember correctly, it's not. It's to do with parsecs and light, and that's how we measure the distance of the rate of expansion. That's as far as I know, anyways.
Yes, sir. And if you go look, the quantized,
away from you at 5
that they have quantized the expansion rate of the universe, that quantification of the expansion rate of the universe shows us that it is expanding and it's increasing in speed and it's expanding in all directions away from us equally. That's kind of unique.
No, it's not. Anywhere in the universe that happens. Because you are the observer. Like, everything is moving away from everything else, but based on your position within the universe, it'll appear like everything is moving away from you. It's the same reason.
Yes, sir. Everything is moving away from everything else. But it's amazing, sir, that it's moving away from us equally in all directions. That's what makes us assume or come to the conclusion or infer, rather, that we are near the center of the universe. We're not the exact point of the universe, center point of the universe, but it does look like we are close to the center of it.
Well, hold on. The reason it looks like we're close to the center of it is because light has a speed limit, and that speed limit is the same in every direction, so we can only see so far in every direction. So no matter where you are in the universe, you'll be the center of your observable universe. That doesn't...
Sure, if light has a speed limit, then why can we see billions of light years away?
Because the light has had billions of years to travel from there to us. You understand?
Actually, no, sir. You're actually misassuming something. You're thinking the two-way speed of light is equal both ways.
What the fuck are you talking about?
You see, we measure the speed of light in a vacuum. We use mirrors to measure the speed of light in a vacuum. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah.
But
so then you know, sir, that we cannot actually know the true one-way speed of light. We can only know the round-trip speed of light, the two-way speed of light. And that, sir, could be averaged out. Wouldn't you agree?
You don't understand what speed is. Define a vector.
Yes, sir. And since we measure the two-way speed of light in a vacuum, we can't measure it one way. We have to measure it two ways. It's a two-way speed of light. We measure it with a mirror. And since we know that we have to measure it two-way speed of light with a mirror, we cannot know exactly what the one-way speed of light is. Wouldn't you agree?
No. Do you understand what?
Then you don't understand how we measure the speed of light, sir. I suggest you go look it up.
I understand it. Okay, Mr. Batman, I travel at a uniform speed from here to a shop that's 1 kilometer away. It takes me 10 minutes
sir,
to
when
do
we're
a
talking
round
about the
trip.
speed of light, sir, how do we measure the speed of light? Do you know the process?
I'm explaining it to you. I'm dumbing it down. You're obviously not smart enough to comprehend basic differences between scalar and vector quantities. So,
sir, do you understand that we do have to use a mirror in order to understand the speed of light? Because in order to actually measure the speed of light, we bounce the light off a mirror and actually calculate the time it took for that distance to travel from the light source to hit the mirror and then come back.
Yeah, exactly. You just
Great, and they do that in a vacuum. Why do they do it in a vacuum?
They do it in a vacuum because atoms can interfere with the speed of light.
Great, I'm glad you understand that light actually has mass as well because atoms can affect it.
Well, it has an incredibly
Thank you very much for acknowledging that point, sir. So let's go ahead and go back to this two-way speed of light, sir. Wouldn't you agree, since we have to use a mirror to understand the speed of light, that we cannot understand the one-way speed of light? We can only understand the two-way speed of light. See, sir, it could be instantaneous one way and take 96,000 miles per second the other.
Can you mute him for half a second so I can just talk? Batman.
5 times a second.
Yeah. If you have a car and you travel from here to the grocery shop that's 1 kilometer away, and it takes you 1 minute to travel that whole 1 kilometer here and back. So, actually no, my bad, my maths is wrong. The grocery shop is 1 kilometer away. It takes you 10 minutes to travel there and back, and you're moving at a constant speed because there's nothing to interfere with you or change your speed. You can then assume that half the distance would take half the time because you're traveling at a uniform speed. So you go 2 kilometers in 10 minutes, which means you go 1 kilometer in 5 minutes. This is literally grade 6 division or grade 5 division. This is incredible.
Yeah, he's saying that because of the changing of direction, some way it interferes with the speed of light.
Yeah, changing directions won't interfere with speed because it doesn't
have
enough.
No, sir, let's get it straight. I'm saying, sir, that we do not know the one-way speed of light. That we only know the average speed of light. We know the two-way speed of light.
Okay, but okay.
The source of the mirror, and in fact, the light source that is measured.
How about this?
As such, sir, we know that the speed of light could be instantaneous one way and 96 miles per second the other.
So you know what you do then? You should go and stand on a high tower, right? Like, for example, the Eiffel Tower.
And jump
off it. You take a laser. No. You take a laser and then point it to the farthest point on the horizon that you can see. Because our measuring equipment now is sophisticated.
Sir, how do you align the clocks? How do you synchronize the clocks between a distance, sir?
The clocks over here actually run on the electricity net. They have to.
Yes, sir, I understand that, but unfortunately, sir, you cannot synchronize clocks over a long distance. You do realize that's why we use the two-way speed of light, right?
That's not how. No, it's incredibly easy to synchronize.
You cannot accurately synchronize clocks between two distant points. You cannot do it. It does not work.
It's incredibly easy. You just
find out. As a matter of fact, in order to accurately synchronize two clocks between two distant.
Yeah, okay, so 2 distant points. Say you have a clock here in Europe and you have a clock in America. All you do is you get a fiber connection between them, which is light. Let's make it simple. Let's say that there's nothing to interfere between a signal of light traveling between them in order to synchronize them. That signal of light will take approximately, I'm not sure what it was. I think it was something like 20 milliseconds between Europe and North America. That's just a ballpark estimate based off of how computing networks synchronize their clocks. So you take that time. Since we know the speed of light, we can calculate that it will be 20 seconds of delay, and then we can just set the clock to go 20 seconds ahead. So let's say the clock in America is a reference clock. Let's say it's at 1 minute. And it sends a message to the Europe clock. By the time it gets there and sets the Europe clock to 1 minute, 20 milliseconds will already be passed. So you pre-code something into the Europe clock that says whatever time the whatever time the American one tells us it is, we're 20 milliseconds ahead because we have to deal with the speed of light. It's literally that simple. Batman, you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, and I really hope you don't teach science. Any rebuttal? Like, Jesus Christ, I'm only 16 years old. I've barely even started my my science career. Clearly don't know jack shit.
What do you do in science?
I'm still in high school, so it's general. So I'm still doing, in physics, I'm doing electrostatics, gravity, electrodynamics, and circuitry. And in chemistry, I'm doing redox reaction and battery technology.
Yeah,
no, we never got taught stuff like that growing up.
It's so much fun.
All I ever got taught was basic chemistry.
I love chemistry. It's such a fun little thing to play with, especially
in America.
Really?
It goes like biology, chemistry, physics, and then another science.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you happen to be in my school, you'd be taught logic, physics, science of all types, because that's what I teach.
Oh, God.
Why would you be taught logic and science?
Hold on, wait, Mr. Batman.
Wouldn't you agree, sir, that you have to have the laws of logic in order to understand the scientific method?
No, we're not
Hold
doing
on,
that.
Mr. Batman. Mr. Batman.
Well, again, sir, in order to understand what you're observing, testing, and repeating, wouldn't you have to identify what it is?
Yes.
Yeah, you just use empiricism.
Don't
empiricism, sir. When you're talking about identification, you're talking about the law of identity.
No,
you're talking about an eternal, universal, and unchanging law of logic in order to do the scientific method.
What grade level do you teach? What age level do you teach science to? Do you, if you are indeed a science teacher? Batman? Are we having...
I don't know. I want to say that I'm planning to. I'm really into genetics and learning about how genetics work. I want to set up my own DNA sequencing, like a little DNA sequencing laboratory in my home.
I love genetics. Wouldn't you agree, sir, that genetics actually points to a loving creator God?
We don't care
we're not
about
doing
your
this. I'm interested in
Batman.
DNA and C and D.
I've got a...
Oh, I love DNA, sir. Wouldn't you agree DNA is a language, an agreed-upon language with specified complex arrangement of symbols that perform function and conveys messages?
Batman, chill your tits. We're not taking the
It's a chemical reaction.
Conversation.
Yes, sir. It is a chemical reaction. You have chemicals called enzymes and proteins that actually make amino acids. And these proteins that make amino acids, sir, do you know that you have to have at least 400 enzymes to make a protein? Amino acids, rather, to make a protein.
No, what are you talking about? You use enzymes to break DNA apart in the first place. It's larger than DNA.
Sir, wouldn't you agree that proteins are required for DNA?
No, proteins are a product of DNA. They're by no means required for DNA.
Most DNA has some form of protein in it, though.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not even at the level where I can be properly discussing this.
Well, I know it has a negatively charged nucleotides, and you run it through, I think it's called a ciliary tube that you use to extract the DNA from the actual nucleus of the cells. Yeah. I'm planning to set up a laboratory that does that in my own home at some point once I save up the money.
That's awesome, bro.
Yeah, the only really expensive thing is going to be the fucking Bunsen burner. That thing is going to be huge.
Our friends go...
On the genetics thing, while I approach it from a different side, I do, selective breeding with my bees.
You actually farm bees?
Oh, so it's more of like an anthropological understanding of genetics than, like, not the meat, so to speak.
Not the
but you continuously learn, of course, the mechanics and how it works. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
For now, like over here, we're not allowed to change